Daniel here for Tabletop for One. Please join me at the table as I do a solo playthrough of the city phase for Tanares Adventures. And I thank you for joining me on Tabletop for One tonight. I'm going to go through the after a quest phase and the city phase of Tanares Adventures. So you just got back from your main quest, and you've got some loot, and you're going to town. You need to rest, relax, heal some hit points, and so on. And so what you're going to do is you're going to go and check out the town, maybe go to one of the buildings and maybe buy some equipment or hire some new heroes, get some different loot, and so on. You might also persuade some characters to join your party, and you might even go on some expeditions for some additional loot. So before I set up the city phase, we'll talk about the end of the quest phase. Now, if you've lost a quest, you're going to go ahead and read from 001. You don't get that many loot cards, you lower your chemet level, and so it explains all that here. But let's talk about winning, because that's what we're here for. So, it tells you right here that if you've won the quest, you follow these instructions. So you're going to draw 3 loot cards. Mark this quest star slot in the fact log. If you've done the extra challenge, you'll get an additional 2 loot cards. You'll draw 1 more for each first aid token not spent. And then you're going to be benefited based off of your chemet hunt level, assuming you are above 0. So you draw as many loot cards as your current chemet hunt level. Then, if you've earned 7 loot cards, collected 2 chests, and opened none, you may increase your level by 1. If you spent 2 first aid tokens, you must decrease your level by 1. Alright? Now, chances are with your first main quest where you are awarded loot, you're not going to be at any chemet hunt level. So that's not going to be of concern. You might be able to increase your level. So we'll see how that first quest goes. So while in the calendar, which I'll show you in just a moment, you're going to write down the letter of the adventure you've just played and remove its card from the game. Then you gain the quest card, and the quest card has some information on the back. It'll tell you mastery points that you have earned. Then, of course, if you mark any star qualified slots in the war tracks, you're going to read their corresponding chapters in the city book, which may result in gaining some additional loot or some other bonuses. And then if you have no cards in your hand, apply the table on the previous page. And that table is right here, but you're not going to have that issue starting off. So if you run out of adventure cards, you're going to go to this spot in the book. Alright, I'm just going to show you part of my campaign log here, the calendar. I'm not going to show you anymore, but this is where you mark the quest you completed and the chemet hunt level that you're currently at. And so you're going to set up the city map here. Go ahead and grab the stack of loot cards and have those shuffled and set aside. We'll play this as though I had gained 6 loot cards from the previous quest. You're going to set up each of your shops at their current level. Of course, at the beginning, these are all level 1. You're going to take the week 1 NPCs, or whatever week you're in, but at the beginning, it's going to be week 1. You're going to shuffle them all together, and then you're going to draw 4 of them, and you're going to place them here. And then you're going to grab all of your character cards and your NPC cards. When you're starting out, you're going to have all of these initial cards. It says initial at the top here. And you're going to have all those in your deck, plus all 4 of your current character cards that are in your party. As you do these city phases, you're going to add and take away cards from your character deck. So it's kind of like a deck building experience because you're building out this deck, which you are going to be people that you're going to use for actions in the city. And so the better you build your deck, the more actions you're going to be able to accomplish, more things, more loot you're going to get, and ways to upgrade. And I'll explain that as we go. So I'm going to set this character deck, this is your party deck, aside. And then you're going to take all the other characters that you didn't choose for your party. Okay? You're going to shuffle these up into a deck, but do exclude Magenta from this deck because she's not usable at this point in the game. She gets unlocked later. And so you take that shuffled character deck, you're going to set it right here. And so this character deck is going to be if you go to the Tavern. And I'll explain that as well in just a moment. So the first thing that you want to do is take your party character deck and you're going to draw 4 hands of 4 cards. And once you have your 4 hands of cards, you don't need whatever's left over. You can set that aside. Now, the 4 hands of cards are technically to represent 4 players. If you're playing solo, 2-player, or 3-player, you divvy up the hands as you feel necessary. Of course, solo, you're going to handle all 4 decks. All 4 hands, but each hand is to operate independently each other with some exceptions. And so I'm going to show you the first hand that I have here. And I have the Iron Hand Investigator, who has a Spycraft level of 3. I have the Iron Hand Soldier, who has a Force level of 3. And then I have 2 hero cards, and they have all their stats at the bottom here. This is the knowledge level of 4 here, negotiation level of 5. She's got spycraft 6, negotiation 3, and force 1. Now, it may seem weird that one player has 2 hero cards, especially if neither of these hero cards are their heroes that they played in the quest. In this city phase, it's not about controlling your heroes at this point. It's about different characters in your group, NPCs and playing characters, going about the city. And so when one group of characters acts, it's as if the other ones are resting or relaxing, recovering hit points, and that sort of thing, while these are going and doing errands. So these, like I said, will act independently of each other. There are some instances where you can use other cards on the turn of the current hand. But you're going to take a full turn with each hand until you're done with each hand. And so what you're going to do is you're going to choose the different actions on the board here. Like I said, there's some expeditions here. So if you fulfill the requirements of the expeditions, you're going to be granted loot cards. If you fulfill some of the requirements of the NPCs, you're basically recruiting them, persuading them to join you. So up here, you'll see the requirement for this NPC. So if I want this NPC in my party, I need 3 knowledge and 2 spycraft. This one here requires 3 force and 2 knowledge. And the reason why you want to grab some of these NPCs and add them to your party is you get quest powers. Quest powers are things that affect the beginning of a quest. So when you select your heroes at the beginning of a quest, you equip them, select their skills and everything, sometimes things will be changed. So in this one says change a level 0 attack for a level 1 tank or healer attack not in use. So in other words, you can kind of customize the abilities of a hero whose class is completely different. And then some of them are as simple as just gaining 1 mana cube at the start of a quest. Either way, it's far more beneficial than the current NPCs who have no quest power. And then down at the bottom here, you have the 4 different buildings that you can go to. And in order to interact with these buildings, you have to fulfill the requirements to earn cubes, and then you spend the cubes to do the actions. If you want to go to the natural lab here, you need 3 knowledge or 3 negotiation to put a cube in one of these spots. While at the natural lab, you're able to exchange 2 loot cards. So if you have lots of gold loot, you can exchange a couple gold for a couple iron or something like that. Also down here are some generic abilities for going to the natural lab. 2 cubes will get you 1 wood. 1 cube will let you shop for 2 different items. And then a cube and 3 wood and 2 gold will let you upgrade this to level 2. A lot of these are very similar, just different materials required to do those things. If you go to the tavern, you can spend 2 cubes, 1 gold, 1 gem to draw 2 heroes from this deck, and then add one of them to your character deck. So again, this is another way to build up your deck, your character deck, with more powerful cards for the city phase, but also alternative options for the quest. Characters that you add to your deck are going to have better stats to be used in the city phase, so it just gives you better options. If you go to the weapon shop, you could spend 2 cubes to exchange 1 item for any other one of the same level. Weapon, armor, you choose. This is a good way to exchange out some of your gear to something a little more interesting. And then the Iron Hand Outpost here lets you spend 2 cubes to remove 2 cards from your character deck. This is where you get to weed out some of the weak cards, so you could get rid of these 2 cards that don't have good stats, so that the cards that do have good stats will appear more often. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started here. Let's check out my loot options here. I have, looks like 2 gems, 2 iron, and 2 gold. Alright? I'm definitely thinking that I want to upgrade the tavern. It'll give me access to better armor. It'll let me upgrade the controller's skill card since I use the controller. I can also get some more heroes. Now I'm going to need 1 more gem. So I think what I'm going to do is probably do some expeditions. Expeditions are easy ways to get lots of loot. These cards here that I have in this current hand aren't going to help me too much with the expeditions, because you have to have various combinations for those expeditions, like force and spycraft, force and negotiation, spycraft and knowledge, knowledge and negotiation. Also, they're not going to really net me any of these NPCs. I'm just lacking in a lot of knowledge with this particular group. It's not a very smart group. I only have 4 knowledge with Grigory the Guardian. And so I don't know that I want to try and work my way into one of these spots up here. So first thing I'm going to do is look at going to the tavern. I'm definitely going to need some cubes. I'm going to need 1 to upgrade the tavern, and then 2 to be able to draw heroes. Now, every 3 spycraft and every 3 negotiation is going to each get me a cube. And so with the controller, I actually have 6 spycraft and 3 negotiation. So I'm going to discard her here. And then I'm going to add 2 cubes. Actually 3. Because she fulfilled 3 of those requirements. So I'm going to add 3 cubes here. And then I do like the idea of being able to exchange some of my loot down here with the natural lab. So I'm going to go ahead and use my tank here, who has 5 negotiation and 4 knowledge. That'll give me 1 cube each at the lab. It doesn't matter what color cubes you use. They're just there to mark the actions you're going to take when you spend those cubes. So discarding him. I think I will go ahead and use these 2 for an expedition. So up here it says it requires 3 force and 2 spycraft. With these two here, I have 3 force and 3 spycraft, and that's going to net me 1 cube. Now, that is one hand done, one turn. The cubes are going to stay there until the very end. So I'm going to take my next set of 4 cards, which looks like I've got all NPC cards. And so I'm going to try and add more cubes to the board here, or perhaps earn some of the NPCs. So I've got 3 negotiation, 3 force, 3 knowledge, and 3 more force. Now I definitely have a really good opportunity here. This one says it takes 6 force and 3 negotiation, which I can combine all 3 of these cards here for that total. That'll net me 2 cubes there. And so what that means is if you look at the top here, it says that you draw 1 loot card per cube. And then for every 3 cubes total, you draw an extra loot card. So with the 3 that I have here, I'm going to get a total of 4 loot cards. So that's really good. And so coming back out here, I have 3 knowledge left. I'm going to be able to add 1 more cube here or 1 here at the weapon shop. So I think I'll go ahead and add 1 to the weapon shop. And then I'm ready for my next set of 4 cards. So here we go. We got NPCs again. All right, so now I've got one of the cards that you can use on another hand's turn. So either you use it this turn for 3 negotiation, or you can play it on any turn for 2 negotiation. So I could save this for the next hand and use it as 2 negotiation, and I may very well do that. Yeah, so I'm going to set this aside for now. And that's going to be for the next turn. And then for this one, I'm going to go ahead and go on this expedition here with 3 negotiation and 3 knowledge, adding 1 cube to this spot here. And then I have 3 negotiation left, which I will choose for the natural lab. All right, and we have the final 4 cards here. And finally, we've got some of my character cards again. These are really good. And now I want to look at getting some of the NPCs and adding them to my team. And so first I have 3 force here and 3 knowledge. And that's going to cover the cost of this NPC with 3 force and 2 knowledge requirement. We'll discard those. And you just place a cube on the card. And then with my 2 characters here, I think I'm going to go ahead and buy this card here. And that's going to be 3 knowledge and 2 perception, of which I have 4 perception and 3 knowledge here. And I'll discard those 2 and add that there. It does look like I'm not going to get to use this card. After all, I should have spent it earlier, but that was the choice I made. Okay. And so now that is done, we're going to go on to the spending phase. And so you're going to spend all the cubes. And so you're going to start from the top and you're going to count your cubes here. So I got 4 cubes for the expedition. So that means I'm going to draw 4 loot cards plus 1 because I have a 3 at least there. And so we'll go ahead and set these aside. And then I'm going to draw 5. And so I got some wood, some iron, and a gem. So I'm going to go ahead and set this stuff here just so you can see what I have. All right, then for the NPC cards, you're going to remove the cube and take the card and add it to your character deck. Now that is permanently in your character deck, and I can use those 2 cards for the quests. As well as check out this card. So sometimes you'll get a start a quest ability like this. So right off at the beginning, move 6 and deal 7 to a villain within 1 space of you. Wow, that's great. And of course, that's not going to trigger a reaction attack, and it won't provoke the villain either because it's just an effect. All right, now we go to the bottom so we can choose in what order we want to do this. And so first off, I think I'm going to upgrade the tavern. I have enough gems and iron. So it's going to cost 1 cube. the 3 gems and 2 iron, and then it gets upgraded. And now I have a level 2. I'll go ahead and show you these side by side so you can get an idea of the differences. And so the level 2 one here allows for 2 level 1 attacks in the decks of the controller and the tactician. And then it also allows you to buy level 1 armor. And now when you use the ability here, you're going to draw 3 heroes and add 1 to your character deck. Alright, and so now we can just go ahead and, well, let's see. I was going to use the tavern, but I need a gem. I'm going to wait a moment on that. And so I'm really interested in buying some armor at the tavern right now. And I think I'm going to spend both of these cubes to open up 2 items. So when you open up items, you're going to bring them out for the possibility of purchase, but you're not going to purchase them yet. So there's the first 2, and here's the second 2. You're going to randomly choose these from level 1 items of that type. Just notice the symbol at the bottom of the tavern there is going to match the symbol on the back of the card. So if you open from different locations, make sure you grab the right item cards for those locations. Now on these item cards, just to show you here, is a cost. All right, down on the bottom right here, this one particularly costs 2 gems and 1 gold. And so in order to gain one of these cards, you have to pay for the cost. And so now that I have seen what the cost is for these items, I need to make a decision here. I may have the ability to upgrade the weapon shop, which is going to take most of my loot. It's possible that that's the best way. It would require 3 gold and 2 gems. Now over here at the Natural Lab, I'm able to exchange materials for others. But then some of these items here are pretty tempting. I could also possibly get 2 of these items. Maybe 1 for my healer and 1 for my controller. And once again, I would need some materials most likely. I could buy this one outright. This one here gives you 5 max hit points. And you are shielded 4 when you use it. If the attacker is under an effect, a temporary effect, you gain 2 mana. That's pretty cool. I do, however, like this one here. This one says, after the attack resolves, push 5 and deal 6 damage to the attacker. Or this one just straight up gives you 2 mana cubes. So I think I really want to go with these here. Oh, check out this Mystic Robe too. This Mystic Robe says, the attacker and all enemies in 3 spaces of it take 5 damage. That's very situational though. So yeah, I definitely want to go with these 2 here. And so I need 3 gold, actually 4 gold total and 2 gems. Well, I just had the 2 gold. So basically I'm going to spend these 2 here to exchange 2 loot cards twice. And so I will exchange 2 iron for 2 gems. And then the wood and the iron for 2 more gold. And so we have 2 gems and 1 gold and 3 gold, and that's going to get me these 2 cards. And now I can add them to my inventory for my party, and I can use them on the next quest. Now at this point, the other cubes that I have on the board, I don't need, and so I should have been better with my time. The cubes kind of represent time that you're spending in town before you have to head off to the next mission. And so I kind of wasted my time a little bit thematically. But after that, you're just going to go ahead and take all your character decks, so the discard pile here and the leftover cards that weren't used. And then you're going to go through and separate your character cards and the NPCs you want to bring on the quest, as well as your items, the mana cubes, and all that. And then you get ready for your next quest. And there you have it. This has been a solo playthrough of the city phase for Tanares Adventures. Please let me know what you think in the comments below if you have any questions about the city phase, or definitely point out how I could have done better. But check out my other solo playthroughs of Tanares Adventures. And please like this video and subscribe to this channel if you like the content you see here. And I thank you very much for watching Tabletop for One, and have a great night.